and it is time to vote. Pursuant to the rules of procedure, the chair has the discretion as to the voting mechanism. And it's my determination, based on the system that we tested this morning, that I would like to use paper ballots. And I'll tell you why. We have to make sure that we can not just count the ballots, but verify every name and signature. And I want to make sure that at the conclusion of all of our votes, that you, the members of this party, will be able to review those ballots. And because we are dependent upon Wi-Fi, not just here but everywhere, I want to also ensure that there's no interference in causing you to cast those ballots. So I thought about asking everybody to leave their devices, mobile devices, outside to ensure that we had a very high internet speed, etc. And I'm sure that many of you would like to leave them outside. We're going to go ahead and use the paper ballots.
So based on the phone call that we had with the DNC a couple of days ago about the voting process, it was reported that the votes would be recorded, meaning the paper ballot, they would know who voted for whom on each ballot. They stated today that the votes would not be recorded. Now, based on the DNC bylaws, the rules of the Democratic Party, those votes need to be recorded. So now we're sitting in a situation where this vote is going to go to multiple ballots. This is on the second ballot now, and it could go down to a couple of votes. And as far as we know right now, because they've announced that the vote is not going to be recorded, we don't have access to that information. It was supposed to be posted on the board up there. In fact, I just confirmed that with somebody who was part of the DNC who also thought that was the terms of the arrangement. Something that people didn't notice when it was happening, I noticed it. I didn't know it was against the DNC rules, but it is against the DNC rules. I just spoke to somebody who has been on the rules committee, who knows the rules of the DNC inside and out, has been a senior position, has a senior position at the DNC for several years. It's something that we can verify, and the DNC, and we're waiting for a comment back from the DNC right now. We could possibly have a problem here.
The threshold for election is 214.5. Mr. Perez, 213.5. Ms. Sally Boynton-Brown, 12 votes. Mr. Sam Ronan, 0. Mr. Keith Ellison, 200. Mayor Pete Buttigieg, 1. Ms. Jammu Green, 0.5. Mr. Peter Pekoski, 0. No votes, 2. Abstain, 1.
Hey guys, this is Nomi Konst. We're here in Atlanta. The second ballot is now being cast by the DNC members for the DNC chair. The first ballot came back, and the candidate needed to reach a threshold of 214.5. Sally Boynton-Brown, who is now out of the race, had 12 votes. Pete Buttigieg had 1 vote. Secretary Tom Perez had 213 votes. Keith Ellison had 200 votes, and there were 2 abstentions. So it is now going to the second ballot. The question is, where do Sally Boynton-Brown's votes go? Those are 12 of them, and Pete Buttigieg's vote, and those 2 abstentions. The combination of the 12 plus the 3 is 15. If those 15 votes go to Keith Ellison, he is the next chair. If those votes split, then Tom Perez is the next chair. My guess is it'll probably come down to 1 to 3 votes. It is unbelievably close, the race right now. Another question is, will any of another's candidate's votes go over to the other side? In the last few minutes, a few things have happened. There was a text message sent out by the Ellison campaign, or members of the Ellison campaign. It's not completely verified, but it has been reported on. I've seen the text. I'm not really sure who the source is, but it has been reported on by Politico that saying that Pete Buttigieg was endorsing Keith Ellison, and then there was a correction saying Mayor Pete did not endorse. So some sort of misinformation out there, and that went out to some members. There was also a statement that was released within seconds of Mayor Pete Buttigieg's announcement that he was withdrawing from the race, and that was from Secretary Tom Perez. I announced that before. That could also just be something that the Secretary had prepared in advance. But, you know, the campaign, Pete's campaign, has said that they have not endorsed anybody. They will not endorse anybody, at least right now. And part of that could be that they don't want to upset half of the party because he has been a dark horse. He only had one vote. This is actually after he left the race, but he did get one vote. I think he has some hopes for running for higher office. That is something that you're hearing over and over. He has a bright future ahead of him, and he's just introduced himself to a national audience and potentially a national donor network. So it's a very sensitive time. It's a sensitive moment in the room. It's sensitive when all these candidates have so much at odds and against each other and at risk. There were also two other candidates. Sam Ronan stepped down and endorsed Keith Ellison. Jammu Green endorsed Secretary Tom Perez, and Pete Pekarsky endorsed Representative Keith Ellison. None of those candidates received any votes, just to be clear.
The results are 235 for Mr. Perez and 200 for Mr. Ellison. Order. It is my great honor It is now my honor now to present the gavel, the next chair of the Democratic National Committee, to Mr. Tom Perez. Mr. Perez, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, folks, I would like to begin by making a motion. It's a motion that I have discussed with a good friend, and his name is Keith Ellison. And the motion I would like to make to the body is a motion suspending the rules, if I may, to appoint Keith Ellison Deputy Chair of the Democratic National Committee. Now, I'm not sure.
If you prefer, but you are...
Tell me the phrase I'm supposed to utter. That was fine? Okay. I'm not... Did I hear a second? All for? Opposed? Hey, wait a minute. The silence is deafening. The motion passes. Congressman, the floor is yours.
Deputy Chair. That means nothing. You understand? That means nothing. None of these positions have any official role except for chair and treasurer. That is what we've learned through this process. They didn't record the vote. The DNC bylaws state that the vote needs to be recorded, and they announced that they were not recording the vote. Oh, they did it ahead of time. They announced it to everybody. Deputy Chair, that Keith Ellison will be Deputy Chair. That is what Secretary Perez has just said. I am very skeptical at this point because I just learned a couple of minutes before this that the DNC is not following their own bylaws. I know we're live right now, but I have yet to see a response from the DNC.
we were all in this together, and I really want to apologize to the media because we did talk about issues. You know, we didn't do any of the other stuff. And that's what the Democratic Party is about. And people kept wondering, I can't help but be a little amused when Keith and I had dinner one night and folks were snapping photos. Because, you know, Keith, the congressional district that I visited the most when I was the labor secretary was Keith's district. Why? Because of our shared values, because of what we work on together. We work to lift wages together. We work to make sure that collective bargaining remain part of the American fabric, because Keith and I understand that when unions succeed, America succeeds.